For me, the current trends have been the ones that have been there for quite a while. It's customer service, but also faster payments. If you look at a lot of the traditional banks, they're actually setting up new digital banks to service people like me and small, medium enterprises to actually move money around a lot quicker. And there's new payment rails being offered, new open banking platforms that are available there to actually facilitate the requirements.
I think the trends are continuing, right? As Mark was referring to earlier, it's customer service. When you look at customers are really demanding real-time payments. You cannot post a transaction and expect it to hit your account in 2 or 3 days anymore, right? It's insane, instantaneous. The banks are being challenged by new incumbents to move up the scale, increase their efficiency. I think definitely the days where banks were sitting on massive margins in the payment space are increasingly under pressure. And so, I think the transparency and the more global reach of consumers today, they're aware of what banks and financial institutions can charge and what cannot charge. So what is perceived to be unfair will not stay for long, right? We're definitely upgrading, helping traditional institutions upgrade their levels of service. The way they verify transactions, up the way it's settled, and also the different chains of transaction. We help them with automation, artificial intelligence, whatever is needed to make their decision-making process much more easier and much more quicker to validate and execute. At the same time, our pedigree is focused on exception management, right? So we've been doing reconciliations for global institutions since the 90s. This is our core bread and butter, and we're now just upgrading their game. So old architectures where you need to pull data in and wait for a day or two to make a decision are no longer valid. Now it's more instantaneous.
I would say Asia is at the forefront of it compared to other parts of the world. If you go back even, 2-3 years ago, I think Australia set up the new payments platform, which was a completely fourth channel for payments going through, of which the banks were being actually leveraging. Being here in Singapore and around the region, I'd say there's a lot more initiatives by car firms where payments are being made, point-to-point payments from that perspective. So for me, after living in Asia for 11 years, compared to the rest of the world, I actually see it as the forefront compared to other parts of the world, which I think are only starting now to catch up, because the consumer's asking for more, and the rest of the world's got to catch up for that as we move forward. Not just Asia, I would see there's probably some consolidation. Obviously, there's a lot of new challenger banks, but then also you've got a lot of existing financial institutions that are opening up their own virtual and digital banks. But I see some point, probably a little bit of consolidation going forwards. Also different payment mechanisms. There are plenty of options. That's great for us as a consumer or as a corporate. We can switch and change very easily. But there'll come a point, is there a critical mass for them to be sustainable? So from my personal perspective, I see a little bit of consolidation maybe over the next 18 to 24 months.
I think I add exactly what Mark's saying, with the addition that there'll be greater involvement of regulators. Central banks are increasingly getting involved in day-to-day transactions. You look at areas like Saudi Arabia, for example, where they're leading a real-time gross settlement program for the GCC region as a whole. Places like Africa, where payments are similar to Asia, are picking up. You find that emerging markets are more at the forefront of the digital payments world than a lot of the matured economies, with the exception of pockets like the Nordics, where cash is no longer key, right? That's a very challenging question, right? But I think first they need to address the strategy, which platforms they're going to operate on, because there's there's a multitude of platforms, very little in terms of common standards. And it was one of the sessions actually yesterday, interoperability. Once that's sorted out, is agree on a vendor and proceed as seamlessly and as fast as possible, right? I mean, if you look at the payment space here, this conference alone, there are, I'd say, hundreds of providers, right? Oh, Innovations Lab is sort of my baby. It's where we incubate ideas and sort of like a Formula One concept sort, right? Want to test a new idea, a new toy, and something. We just give it to them. They developed in isolation of the greater organization. And the advantage of doing an innovation lab is actually where I built a whole new team, very young team, dynamic, fresh grads, to really disrupt the industry. They bring in a whole new perspective on some of the problems that the industry is facing and try to solve it mathematically, engineering, as opposed to the conventional way the rest of my team operates.